educational philosophy is shaped by my personal life experience, racial discrimination, social stratification, experience in my interactions with institutional racism. My educational philosophy influences come from the educational concepts from John Dewey, who stated that education is a process, growth, and life itself. Paulo Freire, who wrote The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, has also had enormous influence on my educational philosophy. He's denouncing the eroding method of teaching and advocating a more critical and democratic approach to teaching. It's really inspiring. Also, I have garnered inspiration from Surratt's book, Robert Surratt's Ethical Leadership, which really touch on three virtues of educational leader. That means authenticity, responsibility, and the presence. Additionally, I read some books that during my course, which have also enormously influenced my educational philosophy. To Kill the Mockingbird, but Harper Lee, and the new book have also had some tremendous, I would say, impact on my educational philosophy. All in all my readings during my educational courses have really enhanced my educational philosophy and has kind of molded my educational philosophy and geared it towards more transformational leadership educational philosophy, which is being advocated by Dr. Abol Petrie. Also, Malcolm X's concept of love in having some concept of love in teaching, it's also very important. Farrakhan's seven service concept and the critical race theory are also some components, especially the critical race theory, which decried social injustice, which was a movement, a legal movement, but also strived for racial equality in terms of education. James Bank also advocated for multicultural curriculum reform and the cultural relevant teaching, which it's also a very compounding model, which makes students take action against social injustice. Last but not least, Gay in 2010 expressed commitment to students to maximize their potentials. All these readings during my course, educational leadership course, have really molded my educational philosophy, and the readings have really kind of changed my mindset in terms of how I have to set my students' needs. Some of the other components of my educational philosophy are integrity, which I mentioned before, commitment, and also having effective communication network with both internally and externally, um, and also putting in place, a very effective organization, operational organization, and having um, interpersonal and the professional communication skills to communicate vision and articulate mission, and implement a positive culture in the school. Um, some of the educational, I would say, personalities have voiced their opinions, such as about education, such as Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, um, Malcolm X, um, Einstein, and so forth. These personalities um, have given some insightful opinions about education, and which I concur with them totally, because I would say education is the door to everything in a democratic society today. Um, the concept of inequality in education or in life in general, it's also um, it's a thought that kind of forms part of my educational philosophy. I think there's no equality um, until all students learn and, and perform just as any other students anywhere else. Um, what I see in the system is that there's some kind of inequality in the educational system, not only in the United States, but I think it's a worldwide. And until we address this inequalities, there's going to always be um, gaps in the education in terms of student performance and so forth. Um, Therefore, knowledge it forms part is one of the most component parts of education. Um, I think without knowledge, there's no education. Um, we are in a knowledge oriented society, and the more knowledge you acquire, the better off you are. Um, Diversity is very important, is paramount in our society. Um, it is becoming it's really evident that it's becoming more and more we're becoming more and more diverse in our societies, um, and this should be some kind of system put in place to be able to streamline the differences, the cultural, the value, cultural differences, the that are existent or that exists with each group. The fact that we're different in certain in culturally doesn't mean that we should have different socioeconomic conditions. Um, so I will strive for diversity. Within the diversity, there should be system put in place to address all students' needs um, without any form of discrimination. It is also paramount to establish that kind of relationship. Um, Even an educational leader has to have the interpersonal and the professional um, acumen to be able to communicate, establish that relationship and trust, to be able to um, function within the school and um, with the larger community. Um, so I will emphasize that building relationship and trust is very important in my educational philosophy. Accountability is also one of the aspects. Um, we we have students that whose needs have to be taken care of, uh, and so we are to some extent accountable to the success of our students. Students who come to our school class, um, we have to make sure that all students have been all students' needs have been addressed, and that reminds me of the No Child Left Behind accountability, AYP. This is very important in terms of I would say optimum operation in the school. Empowerment is another word that um, is included in my educational philosophy. Um, educators, educator leaders have to empower their teachers and staff to be able to impact the students. In the last segment of this project, my educational philosophy, I have included interaction with teachers, empowering them so that they can empower the students in the classrooms in a professional training. As Socrates said, I think therefore I am, and it lends itself, this saying lends itself to the fact that we have to think to survive. We have to teach our students to think, critical thinking. It's not a memorization, but it have to be thinking, synthesizing, analyzing elements, compare and contrast. They should be on a higher level thinking. Um, an instruction has to be challenging, meaningful and challenging. So one of the components will be thinking, critical thinking, having students think critically and more creatively and preparing them for their future, which will make them affront problems and issues and kind of go about problems in a critical manner. As I previously said, critical thinking is an important component in instruction. As you can see in the picture, educators, we have to activate students' creative ability by asking them questions and how and why questions, the HOT, high order thinking level questions, to be able to um, get back what the students are thinking. And if it's on a lower level, the teacher will still have to ask a very um, difficult question so that the students would come up with creative answers. Students should be guided to take ownership of their learning, but not only all that, but also they should be guided to do hands-on um, instruction so that they will be able to um, use their knowledge that they have acquired in some in the application level. So therefore, it is critical for the teacher to awaken, as Albert Einstein said, it's critical for the teacher to awaken the creative ability in our students, by turning on the touch, the light in them, to allow them to function creatively. As educators, we should be facilitating. We should be facilitating instruction. That means in the form of PLC. We should be helping teachers to be able to grow and help our students learn. So if we engage our students, we empower them with instruction, and we engage them in a critical thinking activities, and we give them opportunity to apply this in the form of hands-on activities. Um, they will ultimately, students will ultimately see the light. They will see the light coming off the bulb, as the boy indicates in the picture. And now here's the bulb. I get it. So after all the instructions and the guidance and the feedback and reteaching, finally the student gets it, which is the ultimate goal. The outcome means the student will understand what we are teaching. Before you can acquire any larger knowledge, students have to have, teachers or educators have to have the high expectation, set expectation for the students, so that they can rise up to that expectation. Expectation is one of my components of my educational philosophy. I think effort is overrides ability. Um, Personally, I believe that some students, individuals can be successful despite their natural endowment. If you have, I think we have to sort of activate our natural abilities. We couple with effort. to be successful in our endeavors. So I think effort and persistence are some of the words that I think will be always frequent in my educational philosophy. And finally, in my educational philosophy, what I'm striving for is ultimately students' graduation. If students are able to go through the academic grade levels, and they ultimately graduate from middle school to high school and high school to college, that's the educator's ultimate goal. Um, at In this last segment, um, I just wanted to show you some forms or components of my educational philosophy, which entails empowering teachers to impart their students in the classroom. This is a PLC training that I conducted, and I was um, I was facilitating um, literary skills to my peers so that they can be able to um, maximize. They can be able to improve their strategies in the classrooms and then impact students' learning and in turn um, providing um, student achievement. And again, the student will not always see one bulb, but the student is going to see multiple bulbs, multiple lights, which means multiple instruction, math, social studies, science, um, and so forth. So this is an indicative of, of, of student acquiring knowledge from the teacher's efforts and instructions.